Rishi Sunak. But did I contribute to mistakes? I'm very open and honest to say, yes, I did. That's why we've got to make sure this never happens again. And I believe reform is the best way to ensure that doesn't happen and we can actually fix the country.
I thought your story about the recent shadow cabinet meeting was very revealing. You know, they debate, is Britain broken? A couple say yes. Most say, good Lord, no, everything's absolutely marvellous. And then some say, well, we can't admit it because we actually contributed to it. And so I'm actually, yes, I am prepared to accept those who put their hands up and say we failed. And bear in mind, Gary, you know, I put a level of trust in the Conservative Party back in 2019 at that election. And I, like many millions of others in Britain, feel betrayed by them. And you only do deals, you only shake hands with people you trust. And we are going to replace them. And they will cease to be, I repeat, a national political party after May the 7th this year. Just you watch.
And if I may say on your question about an inflection point, I do think we are at an inflection point. Perhaps a slightly different one to the one that you were suggesting, but there are many millions of people in this country who voted Conservative at the last general election. They were often doing so through gritted teeth. Perhaps it was a force of habit. Perhaps they hoped that the Conservative Party would learn its lessons and change. My message to those people is you need to rally behind Nigel and reform now, because it is the only way we will get rid of this failing Labour government, and it is the only way that we will get in a government that is capable, has the will and determination to actually fix the country. And that, I'm afraid, does mean the end of the Conservative Party. It means people who share our values coming together to support this man and to make sure that he's our next Prime Minister.
Yeah, they're going the way of the Liberal Party in the mid-1920s. That's actually what's happening before our very eyes. Martina Bett from The Sun.
Thank you very much. Martina Bett from The Sun. Robert, I was wondering if you could give any more details on how the events this morning unfolded. How did you get caught? Tory party chairman Kevin Jenrick says that it was someone of your inner circle that sold you out. Who was it? Any details on that would be good. Thank you.
Look, honestly, I'm not in the slightest bit interested in who might have said this or that. Why don't you go and ask Kevin Jenrick or Kemi Badenoch what they have heard on the grapevine? No one does this lightly. I've been a member of this party since I was 16 years of age. I woke up this morning as the Conservative Home Poll's most popular shadow cabinet member, exactly. The bookie's favourite to be the next leader of the Conservative Party. Do you think you do this lightly? No. I did this having given it the greatest thought about what I think was best, not just for me personally, but actually for the country. And that is what matters today. How do we ensure that we fix our country? And there may be some people in politics, many in the present Conservative Party, who don't think Britain is broken, who think that everything's going to be all right. I don't think that. And I would be letting down the men and women that I represent if I said to them, you've had 2 or 3 lost decades where your wages have stagnated, your kids can't get on the housing ladder, the NHS and our public services are failing, migration is through the roof, crime is getting worse and worse on the streets. But you know what? I'm just going to sit back and allow us to waste another decade, 2 more decades. No, I'm not prepared to do that. So today was a difficult decision for me. It's not one that I took lightly, but I am convinced in my heart that this is the right thing to do for the country.
James Hill, Spectator.
Thank you. Mr Jenrick, last summer you called for Zia Youssef to be booted out of Reform about a tweet, and there was a whole long-running Twitter battle with him. How are you going to smooth over relations with the new colleagues?
Look, in politics, people say lots of different things, and whatever Zia or Nigel, anyone may have said, worse things have been said about me in my life. The most important thing is that we work together successfully as a team, and that is exactly what I intend to do. I have the highest respect, not just for Nigel, or else I wouldn't have joined his party, but for Richard and for Zia and Lee and Sarah and Danny, those who built this party. And I'm just the latest member, the latest recruit to their cause. And so I'm just going to do everything I can to help and to support them to make sure this is a success.
Zia feels utterly betrayed by the 2019 Conservative government, and he wears it on his sleeve, and he pretty much tends to blame every single human being that was involved in it, but I'm teaching him the values of forgiveness, and it'll be okay, I promise you. I'm just the softie in reform, you know. I mean, that's just the way it is. Ellie Wheatley from Guido Fawkes.
Farage, if Kemi Badenoch has a change of heart and decides to defect, would you let her into reform too? And Jenrick, if you had to put a number on it, how many Tory MPs do you think will follow you to reform?
Well, not the Lib Dems. There's about 70 of them are Liberal Democrats, so they wouldn't come, would they? Look, let's just wait and see what happens. Let me just reiterate the point that I made a couple of times. If there are Tory, Labour figures out there that want to come to reform, don't think you're joining us on the back of a massive success on May the 7th. Come and join us and help us in that journey to make May the 7th the big day. All right? So that's the very, very simple message. It was said during the war that if Hitler landed in a parachute on the lawn of number 10 Downing Street, that Churchill wouldn't have a clue what to do. And you just asked me a question that I can't really answer. I don't think Kemi Badenoch is going to be applying to join Reform UK. I don't think she's my biggest fan. It simply isn't going to happen. And anyway, she's going to be leader on May the 7th, so she won't qualify, will she? Right, fine. Let's go. Lucy White, Bloomberg.
Thank you. You talked earlier, Nigel, about deals and deals to be done between yourself and Robert Jenrick. Mr Jenrick, what were you hoping to get out of that deal? And do you feel like you might have given away or you might have lost some of your leverage by this being leaked if you were hoping to gain a better position?
Well, that would depend whether he was dealing with an honourable person or not, wouldn't it? OK, thank you. We'll move on. A deal is where you talk about the terms upon which someone joins, what they might be able to do for you. I haven't offered him a rank, I haven't offered him a title, I haven't offered him a position, I haven't offered him money or anything like that. We were in conversation, actively in conversation, as to what the best fit was for Robert as part of the front team, joining the people you see in front of you. And a cynic would say his position was weakened, but you know what? I'm carrying on the conversation. Now it's done in exactly the same spirit as I did before. Let us go on to Emilio from Politico. A spy.
So, I mean, you're condemning the Conservatives for not accepting that they broke Britain. You have sort of touched on this a little bit just now, but I mean, are you accepting that you are part of that group that broke Britain? Which elements would you say that you had a hand in breaking? And are you going to apologise for the public? That's the same the Conservatives need to do. Surely the public needs to hear you apologise for your role in that. And Nigel, I mean, you're both kind of accepting, well, you're completely accepting that the Tories failed, that the Tories broke Britain. So you're accepting a failure. Is that the kind of Conservative that you want helping you in government, really?
If people are honest enough in public life to put their hands up, to say they got it wrong, to effectively say they're ashamed, that's what Jenrick said. I'm ashamed. How much more do you want from him? What do you want, sackcloth and ashes? You know, he's already said he's ashamed of some of the things that government did. I think he's pretty much been down that path. And I want people who recognise what went wrong. I want people who understand what re-establishing that bond of trust between the electors and the elected is. And I want people who've got experience of what it's like to live, breathe and work on the front line.
It's the experience of failing in government.
Well, you know what? Most people who succeed in business have failed in business to begin with. And maybe that's something this country needs to think about a little bit more. That the road to great success very often is littered with failures along the way. The clever people recognise those failures, adapt and change. And there's little doubt that in terms of political conviction and thought, that Robert Jenrick has changed enormously over the course of the last decade. I don't think you need to defend yourself any more than you have, frankly. Well, I think look, if he says I'm ashamed of what we did as a government, as I say, I don't know what more you want. David Williamson from The Express.
Thank you. One of the questions which will be asked is, the right is now clearly split, and the battle between the Tories and Reform is going to be personally bitter. Do you fear that this is actually going to leave the door open, if there is no possibility of a pact, to an alliance between Labour, the Greens, the Lib Dems and whoever else might be in at the next election? And just lastly, we've obviously seen the entry into Reform of people who were devoted fans of Boris Johnson. Would you like to see the blonde bombshell here?
I don't think after the Boris wave that's very likely, do you? And if you say the right is split, I'll tell you this, David, it's a lot less split this afternoon than it was this morning. And it wasn't especially split this morning, given the very big gap that's been there now for 6 months in terms of support between the Conservative Party and us. And much of that support for the Conservative Party comes from people who are busy with jobs, mortgages, 2.3 kids and a dog. And their news intake is a few minutes a day or week. They don't think about elections or politics. They're too busy struggling on. But when they come to see that actually we genuinely are the only people with a chance of turfing out Starmer or whoever succeeds him, you will see a lot more of those supposed Conservative voters coming to us. What you've seen today is actually a very fascinating, historically perhaps significant, reuniting of people on the centre right. Okay, let's keep moving on. Let's go to Tim Stanley from the Daily Tea.
Had a sex change.
Okay.
Actually, Camilla Tominey from the Daily Tea. Can you just clear up, Mr Jenrick, the timeline on your defection? Because I wrote a column about this on Friday, and there was an exchange of messages with, let's call it sources close to you, insisting that you were never, ever going to defect.
It's no surprise that if you phone me, I don't have to tell you everything you want for your column, Camilla.
Well, no, I'd already written the column at that point, but I just wanted clarity, like Chris Mason at the BBC and all the other journalists here, that when you said you were never, ever going to defect last Friday, that you were in fact lying, and therefore the accusation that you're untrustworthy may be true. That's my question.
Camilla, I'm very sorry to disabuse you, since I thought you were a very experienced journalist, but politicians don't have to reply to all the text messages that they get sent by journalists. And I wasn't going to give you the exclusive news of my decision, Camilla. But if you're asking me the question about honesty, nobody in the Conservative Party was more honest about the failures of the last Conservative government than me. What is the most honest thing to do, Camilla? Resign. To stay in a party knowing that its principal policy on Rwanda was a failure, or to resign from its cabinet? What is the most honest thing to do for myself and the country but to say this party is going nowhere? And if you really want to turn it around, ensure that the country is fixed, then you have to rally behind Nigel and Reform. That is what I've done.
Aggie from LBC.
Thank you very much, Aggie from LBC. First to Robert, has your dream of becoming a party leader completely gone, or do you think at some point when, or if, Nigel Farage retires, you might have that dream once again? And also, what happened
I thought I got away from all the leadership speculation.
What happened to the person
If one good
who...
thing came about today, it was that.
What happened to the person who left that speech lying around? Do they still work for you? And finally, to Nigel, isn't it embarrassing that last year you said... Robert Jenrick is a fraud, I've always thought so, and have you guys had to talk about that?
No, we haven't really, because I did think that for a very, very long time. I wasn't sure that his conversion was genuine. I thought perhaps he was doing it for political advantage within the Conservative Party to become leader. I had my doubts, but I've begun to believe since the summer that actually this guy has been on a genuine journey, is viewing the country very differently. And as I said earlier, the thing that really swung it for me is he was the only principled resignation from the last government. And when people who fought very, very hard to get into Parliament, to rise up the ladder into ministerial position, senior ministerial position, for people to resign on points of principle. There are very, very, I tell you what, Aggie, there are very, very few people in public life who do that these days. And that's what convinced me that this guy was in the same camp that I'm in.
And look, nobody leaves a party which they're the bookies' favourite to be leader out of ambition. You do this out of conviction. I've done this today because I'm convinced it's the right thing to do for my constituents and for the country. And that's it.
Thank you. Max Kendick from The Times, please.
I'm not interested in that. That doesn't matter.
Max from The Times.
Thank you, Nigel. This defection, the Tories say, wasn't meant to happen for a while, and there was some grand plan up your sleeve to have some kind of disruptive event for it to happen instead. What was that? And Robert, you failed to become leader of your party, and now none of your closest Tory allies have said they're following suit with your defection. Has this been a bit of a botched operation, or are you going to trigger a whole chunk of more defections?
If I'd planned a disruptive event, I cannot imagine I could have stage managed it better than Kemi Badenoch has managed to do for us today. This is a supremely disruptive event. I've talked over the years, in different incarnations, to many people about joining, whether it was UKIP or the Brexit Party or Reform, elected politicians. I had some defections back in the UKIP days. Do you know what? I had a lot that I thought were over the line and at the last minute didn't happen. So, yes, we were in advanced talks. Yes, I was keen to get Robert on our team. And yes, we thought and wargamed what we might do. But it's never done until it's done. But Kemi's helped bring us together. Isn't that wonderful?
Very good. Sorry, what's your question to me?
Are there more people who are going to come over?
No, I don't know. That's up to them, isn't it? Obviously, it's ultimately a matter for Nigel and the
long.
party to decide whether they want them or
Haven't
not.
got long. Deadline.
There are some good people in the Conservative Party, and if you share our conviction, then Reform obviously welcomes people.
Mind you, there could be a queue downstairs as we speak. I don't know. Let's go to Helen at PA Media. I'm getting there's about 5 more.
Hello. Mr Jenrick, Nigel has said that you were talking about potentially defecting, but that had the events of today not happened, that may have never come about. So can you confirm that?
I had resolved to leave.
So when you woke up this morning, you thought you would leave at some point?
Well, I didn't think I was going to leave today, but I had resolved to leave the party, and that was, as I've said, something I'd given a great deal of thought to over a very long time, and the fact that it's happened a little bit sooner, so what? In fact, it means I can get on with trying to help Nigel, help Reform to succeed slightly sooner.
And how many of your Tory colleagues have you spoken to about defecting?
No one.
None at all?
No.
Okay. And Nigel, you've spoken about a Labour defector coming next week.
Yeah, come and join me next Tuesday. It'd be great fun.
What
Marvellous.
level? What level are we talking? Is
Oh,
it an
I
elected
can't remember.
politician?
Come along on Tuesday. It's open to all of you. It's actually marvellous fun. Right, very good. Let's go to David at the Financial Times.
Hi there. For Robert, first of all, you've spoken quite glowingly of Reform and of Nigel today, but no political party is fully formed. They always evolve. So what one political change would you like to see within Reform before the next general election? And for Nigel, you've put this deadline on people coming across before May 7th. Are you hoping at this point to trigger a tsunami of defections?
Well, I think we're putting a message out, aren't we? That we want people, if they're thinking about joining us, we want people that join us to add to what we do. And adding would be putting the shoulder to the wheel. And despite whatever the cancellations are, that we'll finish up with, there are still going to be a vast number of elections, thousands of seats, probably even with cancellations, 4,000 seats up for grabs on May the 7th. So if you want to come and join us, come and chat to us. There's no guarantee we'll accept you. We've rejected several. We really have rejected several who we just did not think would fit. But if you want to come after we succeed on May the 7th, then we'll think that actually this trade is more about you taking from us than the other way around.
And to your question to me, David, I've just walked through the door. Give me a bit of time. But reform has come an incredibly long way in a very short period of time, to the point that it's been leading the opinion polls
a couple
of hundred times now.
Yeah, no, it has.
The country is in a desperate situation. Reform is the country's last hope. The work that falls to all of us now is to ensure that we get serious, credible plans that the country can believe in, so that if we're lucky enough to win the next general election, people can have confidence that this will be very different from the failed Labour and Conservative governments of the past.
Right, 4 more. Kate from The Independent.
Hi, Kate Devlin from The Independent. Robert, you've talked a lot about being honest with the British people. So actually my question is to Nigel, if he's honest about the limitations and things that he doesn't like in reform, will he be allowed to say so, or will he have to toe the party line?
Oh no, anybody can come and say anything they want to me. The only rule I have as leader is that we have our disagreements, we have our arguments, we have our rows behind closed doors.
I meant in public.
Or maybe over a glass or something afterwards, I don't know. But we don't have fights in public, and people in politics who have fights with me in public generally don't tend to do terribly well. Let's go to Will from the iPaper.
Hello, Will Hazel from the iPaper. Robert, you mentioned Damascene conversions earlier and said that the Tory party and your former colleagues hadn't had Damascene conversions. This is what another UK politician said about Damascene conversions last year. Don't forget, this is Robert Jenrick, this is Robert the Remainer, this is Robert that don't stand particularly for anything at all, who suddenly appears to be on this Damascene conversion. That was Nigel Farage. Is that uncomfortable?
And I said it with conviction, and I said it with passion, and I meant it.
Is that
absolutely? I meant it.
Is that
but you know what? I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm allowed to watch the progression and the journey, and I'm a bit like Zia. I don't trust any of them naturally. They have to prove to me that they are genuinely repentant. And I think what this guy has done, with the energy that he's put into his journalism, into his YouTube videos, into his speeches in Parliament, and talking to people who know him, as I've done, people who know him socially, but outside of politics, I'm convinced that he's not that same person, all right? I'm allowed to change. I promise you, I'm allowed to change my mind.
Robert, is that uncomfortable hearing? Some of those comments are quite personal.
Oh, please.
This is politics. People say all sorts of things.
It's a rough old game, you know. Right, moving on. Dave from The Mirror.
Hi, thank you very much. Do you think your members will accept the man who opened all the hotels, all the asylum hotels, and who boasted about it in that quote?
I was the man who, with respect, I was the man who closed 100 of the asylum hotels,
you
and then
very
resigned from the last
famously said in
Conservative
2022, I've procured more hotels. Mr Farage shared that same comment and dubbed you a fraud as a result of it. Do you think your members will forget that? And is there a risk of this looking like someone who's trying to distance themselves from their previous actions?
Dave, you know, I don't need people to join me for the sake of it. We've actually done rather well on our own, thank you. But I'm getting people in who are apologetic, indeed ashamed of what they've done in the past, recognise what went wrong, and are determined to get it right. Are our members prepared to forgive those that apologise for past errors and promise to put their shoulder to the wheel to help us and propel us forwards? I believe the answer to that is very firmly yes. Last question, Rowena from The Guardian.
Rowena Mason from The Guardian. For Robert Jenrick, you've talked to us about honesty and trust, but you said that this morning you'd already made up your mind that you'd already resolved you were going to defect to reform. Would it then have been disingenuous for you to have carried on sitting in the shadow cabinet, knowing, taking in all that information about the Conservative Party, knowing that you were already going to go to a different political party?
Look, these things are very difficult decisions. I had resolved to leave. I had conversations with Kemi and with her senior team over the last few days, and we discussed many of the things we've talked about today. I was clear about my concerns about the way the party was going, the failures to repent for the past, the fact that the top team was the same top team who broke the country, and yet we're now supposed to believe that they're the people to fix it. And there is an honest disagreement between the two of us. It's no surprise. Had I been leader of the party, I would have done things differently to her. She knows that. I'd made the decision to go. It's the right thing to do. Might have happened a few days later. I don't know. That doesn't matter. What matters now is this the right thing to do? Yes, 100%. And I'm going to put my shoulder to the wheel to make Nigel Prime Minister and get a government that can fix the country? Yes, every day between now and the next general election.
My apologies. Tony from The Telegraph didn't come to you.
Thank you. Tony Diver from The Telegraph. Mr Jenrick, you've made the point several times that you've defected by putting aside your own personal ambition, but isn't the truth that you've jumped from a party that's struggling to recover from its unpopularity in government to a party that's led every poll for almost a year? Wouldn't it be more honest to say that even if this is a decision that you've made on principle, you stand to do quite well out of it personally? And on a similar point to Mr Farage, you keep talking about a deal with Robert Jenrick. You know what?
Don't. You do.
You've mentioned a deal with Robert Jenrick several times.
I was asked a question about it. I didn't mention it at all. But
you know what you're getting out of this deal. What's he getting?
What's he getting? He's getting a committed bunch of troops. He's getting an active people's army, grassroots movement out around the country with a level of energy and optimism about changing this country that has not been seen in modern British public life. And he is becoming a part of that because he wants to help change the future course and history of this country. So, yes, he has an opportunity with us to do something remarkable. What he's given up is the opportunity to be the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition in the House of Commons. So on a personal level, he's given up quite a lot. And he'll find working for us, working with us, a damn sight harder work than it ever was with the party he was with previously, I promise you. Was there one more? Yes, I apologise. I'm so sorry, Claire.
That's okay. Mr Jenrick, there were reports that you were going to bring over 2 allies with you when you defected. Are they true?
I haven't spoken to... If you're referring to Conservative MPs...
No one tells me about any of this.
I haven't spoken to any other Conservative MPs, so that can't be correct.
Right, thank you, everybody. See you all next Tuesday. Very good. Thank you.